Hi, I'm Ryn.
And I'm Katja, and we're from the Commonwealth Center for Holistic Herbalism here in Boston, Massachusetts.
And today is our anniversary.
So we thought we would share with you the herbs that we carry around with us all the time. When we got married, we got a tattoo together, and this is it. A lot of people stop us and ask us to tell them what the herbs are on our tattoo, and so we thought we would just tell you that. So the tattoo is the same, except it's different. Because
it is kind of hard to
it's hard to show you, but it's like
what do you think? You see that?
But
it's there we go. It's a compass. So we have the north, south, east, and west, and those points are gonna stand in for certain qualities or natures that the herbs have. And we have the same structure, but we have different plants.
Because we have really different constitutions, or another way of saying that is our bodies are very different. We have very different types of bodies. He tends to be on the dry side, and I tend to be on the cold and a little on the damp side. So different herbs apply to our bodies. And so we use the same pattern, but we just put different herbs in to make them appropriate for us.
Yeah. So let's start here. Let's see if I can turn that around. So this is my South Point herb here. This is sage. It's a standard garden sage, Salvia officinalis. And this is a nice warming digestive herb. This one was really very helpful for me when I was first learning herbalism and changing my diet a little bit. Sage improves digestive fire. It helps you to break down fats and utilize them more easily. We also think of it nowadays as a really useful nervine for when things are cold and stuck and you're feeling kind of like heavy and you need a little bit of a boost or some kind of motivation and some lift to lift you up out of that. So this has been a very important, useful herb for me for quite a while now. Yeah.
So in the south, wait, hold on. All right. So in the south for me, I have another mint family plant, and that's Tulsi. And Tulsi is another mover and really just a fantastic mood elevator for when you're stuck in feeling overwhelmed or stuck in just feeling grumpy or any kind of like anxiety that is just, stuck just onto, you just can't get out from under it. Tulsi is really, really excellent for that, and it also tastes delicious. But so you can see there that in that location, we both have plants that are about movement and are about some warmth, but targeted a little differently for our bodies.
Yeah. So in my east point here, I have Yarrow. And Yarrow the artist did a pretty great job here with the leaves to make them look like they should, because Yarrow's leaves are real distinctive. They're really feathery. They branch 3 times out of the stem, and then it has these flowers up on top. So Yarrow is a very drying herb. It's very astringent and has these aromatics that are drying and diuretic and diaphoretic, and has all these effects that move water around in the body. Yarrow has some other really important qualities about manipulating the blood and its movement or its activity within the body. You could go on and on about Yarrow, and you should check out our Materia Medica course if you're interested in that, because we will.
Yeah.
I think we covered that one a couple weeks back, and that took a minute. So there's tons to say about Yarrow, but again, that's one of my personal favorites and somebody that I always like to have around. And this one, more than any other, when I'm in class, I'll stop and I'll point at my tattoo and be like, oh, it's this one with the feathery leaves. You'll see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my Yarrow.
So in my east, I have wood betony, and it's the same actually more than any other. I'll say, I love this plant so much I had to tattoo it on me, and actually. I love this plant so much that I asked the artist to enlarge it just a little, so it's a little out of proportion with the other plants in my compass. But wood betony is just that important for me. So betony is a plant that really helps you get out of your head. If you are a very cerebral person or a very abstract person, or if you're not, but you have to be like that for work, if you spend a lot of time on the computer or any of that kind of stuff where you really get all your energy up in your head, and maybe you feel like you're not even really in your body. Your body's sort of just walking around, but your head is maybe like totally somewhere else. Wood betony is really excellent for that kind of a situation. Also great, traditionally was used for concussions, and we've worked with it that way also. Even after the fact, even if a concussion happened years ago and you're still kind of struggling with the after effects from that, betony is still really excellent there. But there are definitely days, especially where our work, sometimes it is very abstracted because we're writing new material and we're like sitting at the computer and researching and studying and whatever, but sometimes it's very outward in terms of like teaching is sort of like being on stage. And there are some days that I don't necessarily make that shift very gracefully from I've been researching all morning and now I have to go and teach. And that can feel a little uncomfortable. To just sort of get yourself out of the computer and back into the world of I'm going to talk to people now. And betony is just totally my best friend for being able to do that, make that shift.
Yeah. Cool. So in my north point here, I have the pine. So this is a representation of a white pine, which we have a lot of around here. In town and really just in this part of the world. So white pine is probably my favorite trail tea, like when we go hiking. Mm-hmm. Any time of the year, wherever you are, if you've got pine trees, you can harvest some needles and you can make a tea out of those. They always taste good. They're a little stronger like right now in the summertime, but really all year long you can make a really delicious tea that way. Pines,
tastes like Christmas.
Yeah. Pines I think of, and a lot of the needle leaf family, I think about them as the sort of like the green crown of the world. They're up here in the north, all across the whole latitude. Just holding on to the warmth even in the frozen tundra. And of course that's changing now, but it's still, they're up there and they're embodying that resilience to cold, that resistance to freezing temperatures, and the resin in pine is something we work with quite a lot. You've probably heard us talk about that before as a wound care agent and a first aid remedy and all that. So pine has a lot of these qualities of resilience and stamina and just being able to push through and to stick with it. So I wanted to have that with me all the time.
I love pine too. Pine is it's your one-stop first aid kit, really. If you've got pine resin with you, you're good to go. It'll be fine. So in my north, if we can get there, I have elder, and so we both have trees in our north. And elder is another plant that is for me all about balancing mental energy. Do you see a theme here for me? Like everything is very much about balancing my head stuff. So elder, a lot of people learn it as a diaphoretic, which means that it helps you to release a fever, just release the heat of a fever, and that's fantastic. And yes, definitely do that. But for me, elder is more about that on the emotional level. So when I can't get rid of thoughts that are really feverish, so like a hot anxiety, or like not an anxiety that's sort of in the back of my head, kind of like a quiet voice in the back of my head, but like the anxiety that's like shouting at me constantly. Or when I am holding on too tight to something, trying to control the outcome, or trying to, I don't know, just be in charge of way too much stuff, then like a lot of times you get stuck in that kind of like, I have to do all this kind of place, and it's not easy to relax enough to let that go. But just like elderflower can help you relax enough to release the heat of a fever, like physiologically out through your pores, it has the same effect in the brain of just, or in the wherever we hold that stuff, of doing that relaxing work so that you can just let that stuff steam off, you know? And there are some nights where it's just, you know, like there's no way I'm gonna be able to sleep. There's no way I can like come down from all the mental acrobatics I felt that I needed to do to get through my day. And certainly many of those days I'm making more complicated than they really are, because that's kind of part of my personality. And elder is just fantastic at that time. It's really excellent. Plus, you know, the berries are delicious and they're great for immune strength and all that. I mean, there's so much awesome stuff about elder, but for me, it's really around that mental release.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, one more.
In your eye?
Yes. Something. So this one here, that's Marshmallow. Maybe we can get it from that side. So it's Marshmallow. These nice soft leaves, silvery, and the big hibiscus round flowers there. So
hibiscus and marshmallow are in the same family. They're friends.
Right. Yeah. So Marshmallow here is in the west side of the compass. It's holding in for the water element there. So this is a very moistening herb. Helps the body to receive and to utilize water more efficiently. And more effectively, and so this is a important herb for me that I probably don't really work with often enough.
In fact, when we were picking our plants, you only picked Marshmallow with, like, it was hard for you to be like, oh. I think any plant in the West there would have been hard for you.
Yeah.
Because you tend towards the dry.
Right. So, you know, I mean, it's an herb that's really, it's good for me. The more that I work with it, the better off I am.
Because it helps to bring his body out of that dry place and kind of bring it back into balance and moisten it up just a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll go through phases where I'll do that consistently for you know, a week or something, and that works pretty well. And then I fall out of the habit and get really dry again. You know, so, you know, at least this way I sort of have it with me all the time, and every now and then I'll be like, oh yeah, Marshmallow. I should do that. You know, make a little cold infusion. Yeah, I don't know. So a little reminder. And I sort of pretend sometimes, like, no, I've got it. It's all taken care of. It's just with me. I'll be all right.
I don't actually need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me in the West, how are we going to do this? There we go. I have this is Bladderwrack, and Bladderwrack here is kind of standing in for all of the seaweeds. But Bladderwrack in particular has a lot of thyroid action and also just so much mineral and nutritive action. Also when I look at it, this particular Bladderwrack is sort of similar in shape to the digitata, also has kind of that handy shape. Bladderwrack lives on the rocks right in the tidal zone. So when the tide comes in, it crashes up against the rocks on the Bladderwrack, and then the tide goes out and Bladderwrack is in the sun for a little while, and then the tide crashes in again. And so when we think about it physiologically, it's helping to regulate through different types of situations through the day, right? Which is exactly what your thyroid does. And for the thyroid, really, it's currently believed that the mechanism of action is really just the iodine content and probably some of the other minerals. But I also just love that idea of this is a plant who is, it looks fairly delicate when you look at it, but when you touch it, it is really tough like leather. and it can really handle the crashing surf coming in and just crashing against the rocks that it lives on. And it can also handle the sun. And it's just a plant that does very well in these extreme situations. And that's also good for me because I tend to get into extreme situations fairly frequently, just in terms of extreme amounts of work or extreme amounts of pressure that I put on myself or whatever else. So, and really when we are in those kinds of situations, if we're well nourished and if we have repletion of all the stuff that the body needs, so we've gotten enough sleep, we've gotten enough nourishment, we've gotten enough of all the stuff, then we can handle those kinds of situations. And so the bladderwrack is such a high nutritive plant is really excellent in that kind of situation.
Yeah. So those are our friends. Those are some of our friends. Those are the ones we always want to have with us, help us to stay stable. And you'll find, like the more you work with plants, the more you work with herbs and invite them into your life and taste them and really connect with them on a deep level, that sometimes you'll be able to just kind of call them to mind a little bit, sort of like remember the flavor, remember the feeling that you get when you take that plant into yourself. And that's something that starts to become portable, even if an actual sage or an actual elder isn't really right there with us. Then we can sort of just breathe in that memory, breathe in that sort of sensorial echo, and feel that impact, and say, yeah, I remember that. So this was a little way to emphasize that and carry that around with us all the time.
Plus, putting them on a compass like this not only is a great way to organize plants, just to keep them straight in your mind, but also for us, that idea of a compass is really cool because it can help you know where to go and help you know where you are. And sometimes if you feel like you're lost in a vast sea of to-do lists or a vast sea of maybe uncertainty about what's next or whatever, then we can just look down and check out our compasses, and yeah.
Now we know where to stand. So, happy anniversary to us. And happy bonus holiday to you.
We'll see you later.